understanding is that the intent is to build a larger network of people interested in design. There's new interest in the idea of more holistic thinking in terms of the management of the global economic system.
Some sort of global network of people who are serious about solving some of our problems. I'd like to just forget about planning and starting up the center and just say...
It's a chance to honor Russ by actually using some of his thinking in this process, but it's also a part of what we want to do as a group to transcend Russ, be in his spirit, but beyond. My ideal is that we identify this thing that's trying to emerge, that each of us is seeing and sensing in different ways, but we all call it something different.
The main deal for me is redesigning the local, national, regional, national, global economy.
One day I wake up and there's like about at least 50 centers all over the world. This community does not have a critical mass of people. We have
to really see systems thinking go beyond, to transcend the systems thinking group. And the barriers, the reality, if you like, is those things that have been said. There's a deeper receptivity to this in Europe and the UK and other parts of the world than perhaps there is in the United States.
The reality is that we're all poets, but that we don't yet know it. So my aspiration would be that we would learn the poets that were inside of us and learn how to resonate that out.
The ideal I have is really that the public finds out about this notion of communities, and there's a community sustainability movement that's
So my ideal, an incubator for global thought. But what prevents us from helping each other, I think it's potentially a deficit of appreciation. Also a good word, latency. There's just tremendous power around us. It's like 0-point energy or something.
I think our hunches are kind of wrong. That's my hope, is that systems thinking takes in new things, new people. We have this possibility of including thought from across the globe so that we can change the collective hunch. So my key reality, I think we have to give up who we are and go be somebody else.
And the thing that keeps me going is Russ saying that the East is learning scientific thinking much more rapidly than the West is learning systems thinking. And I believe that the combination of the two is the next leap forward in human consciousness. The ideal thing is we have to find a definition and a way to teach systems thinking to a popular audience.
When I was 5 years old in Chevy Chase, Maryland, and looking up at the stars and feeling, just totally connected. That systems thinking is about, it's personal. It's a change that each person has to grok. And I love that
participation in this network could help us to promote in Russia system thinking. One of the main problems now in Russia is developing democracy, developing local self-government, municipalities. This is why I'm here.
But we're all outsiders. When I think about science, I think that it's become something very terrible over the past 60 years. Probably since World War II and the influx of money, it's turned it into something very different from what Karl Popper thought it was about. What we find on the inside is not freedom of thought at all. It's groupthink in every area that and indeed coerced groupthink. I just hope we continue to survive.
I currently have kind of moved away from the idea that somehow we're going to get everybody else to think like us. Most of the world does not. I don't know that we can get them to. I think, in fact, though, they desperately need the kind of thinking that we're able to do, certainly at a policy level, and how we can begin to introduce systems thinking in places where people can use it without having to think like we do is one of the big challenges.
And the one thing that I learned from Ackoff
But if he left me with something that I want to build on, is having the guts and the courage and the resiliency to continue to bring the mission, the vision, the aim to the destination that we want, regardless of how rough it is. There is an army of millennials who refuse to embrace the world the way it is, and who have the courage to change it. Invention and design are the coordinates of hope, because that's what helps us build a better future. I'm so honored to be here.
Why were we not successful in showing people examples of how you use this kind of thinking in the workplace? Well, all of the experience and the knowledge in this room and beyond has not evidenced to me a product that I can look at, that other people can read about. The experiences.
How is it that we take what we just were born at 5 years old seeing? Oh, it's a system. It works by push and pull. And to take that into language that normal people can see and use.
Talked about
because
the problems
they are
with
not
God and why gods can't solve problems. And then the next year I met God, which was Russ Ackoff. And so all of our problems are systemic, it's just the solutions aren't, and generally the people aren't that try to solve them.
Wow.
But then, of course, in my normal attitude, I thought there's a lot of institutions that shouldn't exist. Just as a case in point and a going away comment, at the current university I work at, I'm trying to get rid of it and trying to turn it into a missing institution. And the theme that I put together is how someone could buy it for $1, but then all employees would be fired at the university. And then the students would remain and set up committees to rehire those they thought should be hired. In part because of that, I'm on faculty leave this year.
It's kind of a fundamental mind shift where we see the interdependency, the intrinsic and the kind of intuitive interdependency that we all, I'd like to see everybody see all of reality as one, as all connected.
And culture has become a weapon because power is something that allows one to think that they are in the center. Was the use of culture and torquing it into a form of relationship that can counter fields of power, economic, political, and military. So we have a problem. London, Washington, D.C., we have a problem because we don't think in those relationships.
To think about how it can elegantly engage the student.
And so I'm interested in relevance. The world has changed. I'm not sure what Wes Churchman would say about the internet if he was here today, those sorts of things. It turns out that most of our economies are 70–80% service economies. And that's not the sort of situation we had in the 1970s or 1960s when we were doing the original systems research. So I'm interested in...
One of the challenges is to relate the nature of living systems to its immediate surroundings. It's, I use the term ecosis, or the environment, and its intimate interactions with
culture, or a cultural concept, and I have found myself writing about systems.
How fragmented research and clinical research
make some
is.
networks or connections and include for primer time maybe my students or people that I know at my university.
And I hope to have connections and to introduce these systems in our countries.
I am absolutely new to systems thinking, and I just...
Hello everybody. You know, during all this discussion I was thinking, what's a system by itself?